Hello guys, it's me again, and if you guys if there's a lot of banging outside, then I'm recording this right on New Year's Eve, so don't bother with that right now. Right now we're here to talk about the best and worst animated films of 2015, and this is going to be on the end of my first list, and one of the lists to start on because this was a really good a good year. It wasn't a great year, but it was a good year for animated films. Mainly because I can only think of three that were actually really great, and then the rest were from good to really forgettable. So I hope you guys enjoy this list. Again, this is opinion based. You don't have to base any of these animated films on my opinion or anybody else's opinion. If you want to have your own opinion about it, watch it for yourself and see what kind of opinion that you pretty much have. But this is pretty much my opinion on the best and worst. And I'm going to start off with the worst and going to the best because you might be surprised of the choices that I have made if you haven't watched my original reviews of these movies. But you might be surprised on where they ended up on the list. So, we are going to start off with the pretty much forgettable, bland, or bad animated films that came out. I can only think of three, because it was about 10 animated films that came out this year, or 10 that I've seen. And if your animated film is not on this list for some reason, it's either because I just didn't hear about it or I've never seen it. And I'm not the type of person to put, foreign films on this list. Mainly the ones that came out in the US I'll put on. And if I just haven't seen the film, then I just can't put it on the list. So, without further ado, let's get started with the number 10. And it's going to be really hard to discuss this number 10 when I just think it's really bland, forgettable, and a bad animated film. I mean, you guys know what it is already, and I'm sure it's going to be put on a lot of worst lists. It's Strange Magic, and if you guys have never heard of this, then for good reason. It was only in theaters for limited release, and I heard it was one of the biggest box office bombs in the history of film. I mean, honestly. And for George Lucas to have some inspiration to this story that he wanted to put on screen as, to quote, Star Wars for little girls. No. George Lucas, you are not having a field day with Strange Magic. Oh, heavens no, you're far from it. But what makes this film incredibly insufferable to get through. I did not see this in the theater. I saw it when it was officially on digital, and I sat down and watched it. And let me tell you, it is as bad as it was looked at to be in the trailer. I mean, really forgettable generic characters. Decent animation. I mean, for animation that was to be put on screen, it was, a good, decent job, especially with what the world they had to put in with, that folklore, fairies, and goblins. And it was a decent effort. I just wish the rest of the film was a decent effort, but no, it wasn't. So, yeah, it was decent animation, but the writing, which was incredibly painful and clumsily used, and it just wasn't, it didn't stand out from any other movie that was straight to DVD. Why this had to be released in the theaters, I have no idea. Thank God it bombed. I mean, seriously, this is just one of those movies. Oh, and the freaking pop songs. This movie has a soundtrack of about 13 pop songs that come out to interrupt the entire movie, and it doesn't serve a point to the plot whatsoever. And another thing, the plot. It will make the love at first sight story tolerable to you for what they have to for how much times they say love, feeling, or anything like that. I just wanted to say, good God, can you stop? Can you just stop with the whole message of love? Because, seriously, it makes... If people complain about Disney films and how much that saturates romance or anything like that, no. This is it, guys. This is it. This is it. Go watch Strange Magic, because that makes it 100 times worse than what any Disney property could have done with it. So, yeah, I mean, if you guys like Strange Magic, I mean, I'm not blaming you. I mean, I can understand kind of why. I mean, it has a kind of unique style of, you know, fairies and goblins and all that type of world of, you know, mythical lore and everything like that. But the pop songs came up every single 5 minutes of the movie. The generic characters, the incohesive plot. I mean, it was not. It's like, it was really forgettable, and honestly, I'm really having a hard time even remembering anything from that film. I mean, the only thing that I could find, like, you know, kind of interesting is that the bad guy is, you know, a love interest for the hero, if you will. And I wish more films would do that, where they would, you know, have the villain and the hero fall in love. I wish it could have been in a better, much more better movie. But I wish more films could do that. But other than that, man, it was just such an intolerable thing to get through, honestly. And it will make you question, like, you know, toleration in, you know, kids' films, of how much they have to use, you know, love as an excuse. Honestly, there's much more better stories to tell than whatever George Lucas was trying to tell. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for Strange Magic. I mean, I just did not find that film interesting whatsoever. So, the next film that I have on here, coming in at number 9, it was a toss-up, actually, but I know that it was legitimately kind of worse than the next one, but I will get to the next one later. And that's gonna be Home. And I know that DreamWorks has been really in the gutter lately of putting out, you know, animated films like, you know, Turbo, Mr. Peabody and Sherman, and, like, you know, just putting out kind of, you know, these meh to kind of, wow, that didn't really need to exist kind of animated films. And this is going to be one of those ones where it's going to be like Turbo or anything like that. It's not going to be bad like Shark Tale was, but it's going to be one of those forgettable DreamWorks films. And given the lineup of what DreamWorks has, that's kind of, you know, saying something, because DreamWorks has produced so much films to where I can't probably list them all. If you like said, hey, list all the DreamWorks films, hey, can you do that? I was like, no, I really can't, because there's too much films that, for one, are forgettable, or two, haven't really gone anywhere but try to make a franchise. And I really hope that, you know, Kung Fu Panda 3 like gets them out the gutter. But the problem I had with Home was, this is too formulaic for an animated film. You know, this type of, you know, these two opposites who just don't get along but end up getting along at the end, while, you know, going on this journey to find somebody. I mean, it has been done, and I would be more forgiving if they made that more entertaining or more interesting. But for the same problems I had with Strange Magic, again, with the pop songs coming up, with interrupting every single dramatic moment that was happening in the film, it was, and also about the animation being kind of too, it was, how do I put this? The animation was pretty much too clean. It was too, it looked like a generic animated film, to say the least. It looked like it. And the animation being too clean, and just, having a film that really made no impression. And the reason why I put Home in front of Strange Magic is because, well, at least it was trying to make an attempt of like, you know, being something of, you know, these aliens coming down from another planet to pretty much take over our planet as their new home. And I kind of like that idea, you know, aliens coming down and relocating the humans and stuff like that. But I wish this could have been a much more better, you know, again, a much more better movie to go along with it. And the characters don't really help either with, you know, how much they just don't make an impression. So I admire, like, you know, Home for actually, you know, trying to get, like, you know, some type of alien story off the ground, like an alien kid story again, because I don't think we haven't seen that since Monsters vs. Aliens or Megamind. I mean, those are pretty much the only ones I can think of off the top of my head that DreamWorks has done with aliens before, but I will admit those are much more better films than Home is. And I recommend you go watch this instead of that. I mean, this is just one of your things where it's just for kids and nothing else. This is just for toddlers, and I really wish, you know, DreamWorks is better than this. I mean, they already got, like, you know, they got How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda. They got, you know, good movies. I just wish that they couldn't waste their time on this one, especially since this was the only film to pretty much come out this year from them. So I hope that they do better next year. I just wish that Home could have been a much more better film, especially from the trailers that they introduced, since the trailers really didn't leave much of an impression on me. So that's pretty much what I have to say. Sorry guys if I'm just getting really tired, because I'm really trying to remember what happened, but I for the love of me, I can't remember. But I can remember an animated film that actually left more of a much more disappointing factor. And this is where I get down to the more disappointing movies. And it has to go to number 8. And I really wish it could have been better. And I know you guys are kind of going to get pissed at me for saying this. The Good Dinosaur. I'm sorry. I know, but people, like, I know critics are kind of giving it, like, you know, a fair judgment on this, but from what I heard from, you know, just random people, like, you know, people from even people from Pixar are kind of denouncing this, like, you know, making a mistake. And thank God they, like, you know, they are able to move on from their mistakes. But you know, either way, I cannot admit about this being a good movie, or even, like, you know, or even, like, really much of an okay one, because for Pixar to make a move like this of releasing 2 movies a year, we all know what was put better. We all know what was the better movie of this year. This was not the year for Pixar to be doing this, to be doing stuff like this. I mean, I admire the bravery of, like, you know, coming out and saying, like, hey, we did not do the best on this movie, and please just forgive us, hope we can do better next time. I admire that they can take, like, you know, a failure like this, but man, talk about a film that could have had potential, but just did not find the right footing for it. I mean, it's a great idea, and, you know, the plot might be simple, but you could do so much with it, so much, you know, creative ideas, and so much world building that could have been put into this. But no, it doesn't really, you know, leave much an effect. And I'm sorry, I keep on saying it doesn't leave much an effect, but it really doesn't. I mean, when I first went to go see this movie and it first started, I was like, what the heck is happening? What is happening? I mean, it doesn't really have much focus, and that's the main problem that I just have with this movie. It does not have focus. It does not know what it wants to be. I mean, the first 20 minutes, I was like, that was so rushed so quickly. And I don't